Let me talk you through it first. Whatever happens here stays with us, you understand? Second, once it's done, you wipe it away. It never happened, we never met.
I had all these funny ideas and like interesting characters, and I was trying to stick them all together to make a film. And then Kieran Darcy Smith, who's in the film, he plays Barney. He's the other guy that runs Blue Tongue with us, and he'd been going up to Glebe Books and reading screenwriting books because he didn't want to buy them. He wanted to sit there and so he'd sit there and read them all the way through and then go on to the next one. He put me on a couple of books, and I read one exercise that was talking about, you know, that a good story starts from a really clear premise, and they had a list of them in this one chapter. I don't know, I can't even remember which book it was, but there was a list of premises, and one of them was obsessive love leads to destruction. And I was like, that's the one I like, you know, I really like noir movies, and they encourage you to write a little story that reflected that premise. So that was the initial thing that kicked the story off.
There's 50 times that. We have to take it, Ray. We have to take it.
There's probably about 40 versions of the first act of this film. There's so many drafts of the film, and I think that, you know, in lots of ways I think it's really great that we kind of wrote into every possible avenue and crevice of this story. And part of that was me learning to write, part of it was us learning to write together, part of it was just going in wrong directions, some of it was just writing other versions. And interestingly, to write as a partnership, because I like writing on my own, I still do. But I got a lot from writing with Matthew because his sense of structure and organisation is so brilliant. And my tendency is, if I'm writing something and it's not quite working, is to throw it all out and start all over again. And especially, like, even down to a whole act, is go, let's throw it out, let's try something completely different. And Matthew was really interesting because he'd go, oh, wait on a second, you know, like, let's just work out.
That letter there is good.
That word is all right. That's good. Yeah, like, you know, there's something that you should have a look at before you throw it away. Let's work out how to fix it.
Listen, I'm not going to stay and watch. Okay, I promise. If you start looking at this thing like something I've got to do, it's going to help me out a lot. Come on.
We shot for 7 weeks, 34 days, and then did a few pickup, like we shot a few additional scenes after we started editing. And the budget, it was pretty small. Yeah.
I think the reason Lou's being a little bit coy about it is because we tend in this country, when we're publicising films, a lot of press tend to harp on the budget of the film, and I think it can actually be to your detriment. You know, like, you never see an American film where people were saying the budget was this, unless it was like a $200 million film. And I actually think when the general public out there hear that a film only cost $1 million or only cost $500,000, well, it feels like you're being a great, you know, Aussie battling film. I think sometimes the general public go, why would I spend $12 on a film that only costs that much when I could spend $12 on a film that costs $100, $200 million? So we had a really tight budget, and everybody sort of never feels like they have enough time to shoot, but we had a decent enough amount of money, I think.
Because we'd send a script out and people wouldn't, you know, just wouldn't respond that well to it, or just weren't interested. And you know, because on paper, you know, people, a lot of time, financiers, they read it and they can't imagine it how you imagine it. And so we cut, like, Luke and I, we went and just got every film we could think of that had something relevant to what our film, what we wanted it to be, and we started, you know, just collecting all little images from other films, and then we cut a trailer, which we call like a still-o-matic, because we couldn't afford to go and shoot a trailer for the film, so we cut a trailer for the film from about 30, 40 other films. Like, part of it was just trying to finance the film when we were pretty adamant we wanted a guy that was unknown as the lead. Like, I think it probably took us a year or two longer than it would normally because we cast someone that wasn't a name.
Sit down. Wipe the guilty look off your face.
The idea of using someone that was, unknown was more exciting to us because then he would be Ray. He wouldn't be so-and-so playing Ray. As people watching the film, you get to see, just the character. And then by that, you just would not have any expectations of what he was going to do or how far he was going to go. Like, if you had, an actor that normally plays bad guys, you'd kind of go, well, he's got potential for evil, so you know he's going to do bad stuff. Or if it's, a guy that usually plays like the hero, you think everything's going to work out for him. But by casting someone that was unknown, like, you wouldn't know which way it was going to go.
I've known David for a long time. And he's been around for ages. He's probably familiar to a lot of people. Louise produced a short film that Rachel Griffiths made called Roundabout. And I remember that's when I was thinking back to that short film, when we were thinking about casting Ray, I remember thinking he could be really great.
But we did a pretty extensive audition process. We auditioned, at least 30, 40 guys, maybe, in that age bracket.